One. All right, this is Maestro, and I'm here with Hall of Fame promoter extraordinaire, promoter of a great event here in Quebec City, Mr. Bob Arum. Bob, how are you doing, and how are you enjoying Quebec?
Well, I love Quebec, but the only time I've been to Quebec, two prior times or three prior times, it was in the winter, so there was so much snow that you couldn't really appreciate it the way you can now. But it's beautiful. It's a great city. And this time we're staying at a hotel in the old city, and that's really something special.
Well, absolutely. The Hotel Frontenac, for example, is well known around the world as one of the...
that's where we're staying.
Well, there you go. Last time I saw you here was for Better Beeb Smith. Talk to me about the experience of that fight in Quebec City and what led you to doing another promotion here again in this great town.
Well, Better Beeb has lived in French Canada for most of his career, and when he fought here, that may have been the first time that I had been in Quebec for a fight. But the fans here are so tremendous. It's a very diverse city. I mean, there's so many different nationalities here, and that's why you see so many fighters of different nationalities fighting on the cards, and it's a really good experience because the fans are so passionate, but they're very well behaved, and everybody is having a good time. They realize that it's a sporting event, and they're enjoying being at a great sporting event.
Now, Quebec City, capital city of Quebec, Montreal as well, another great fight town. History of great boxing matches, including, of course, Leonard against Duran, one of the more famous Montreal fights.
I co-promoted that fight.
Of course. Yeah. Any interest in going back to Montreal, because it's not only the biggest city in Quebec, but one of the biggest fight towns in North America.
It also has the best food of any town in North America. So sure, I'd love to go back to Montreal. It's a great, great city. My son, who's a professor, was speaking this past week in Montreal, and he was raving about it. Yeah, I mean, Montreal is really special.
Yeah, the old city, the port area. I mean, it's a beautiful town. So moving on to this card, Top Rank seems very well positioned right now at 168 pounds. You've got Bazinian taking on Jaime Munguia in September. And of course, you have this great French Olympian in Christian Mbilli taking on Sergey Derevyanchenko. Talk to me about your work in 168 pounds, Mr. Arum, and talk to me about this particular card and where Mbilli fits in your plans at 168.
Well, Mbilli really fits very much in our plans. And what is the game plan? Well, he's got to fight top-level fighters. This fight, maybe one more, and then we'll do whatever we can to match him with Canelo Alvarez. I think, Canelo's really a terrific fighter, but Christian is coming up, and I think that will be a major, major event when we get that fight made.
I was here for the card in Quebec, and in many respects, Mbilli stole the show. He's got a tremendous fan base here that were very vocal in their support of him. It's interesting you mentioned a Canelo fight, because Canelo's fighting one of your former fighters in Edgar Berlanga. He's competing against the UFC, funny enough, in Vegas, September 14th. Talk to me about your opinion on that fight, because it seems as if Berlanga has leapfrogged the level of competition to get this shot.
Well, that is a valid criticism that Berlanga hasn't fought tough, top super middleweights on his road to a fight with Canelo. That being said, and he fought, most of his fights under our promotion. He is talented, and he is very determined to win the fight. So I think the fight will be a lot better than some of the critics have said. I don't know if Berlanga can beat Canelo, but I know for sure he's going to give him a hell of a fight.
So you have a lot of experience with him, arguably more experience than his current promoter. So that's very interesting that you're predicting a competitive fight.
Yeah, Berlanga's a really tough kid. He's very game, and he's not a quitter. And he's going to give Canelo a very, very good fight. I don't know if he wins the fight. Probably doesn't, but he'll give him a really good fight.
I wanted to ask you, Bob, about your card set for late September in New York City, my hometown, your original hometown.
I still call it my home. I still root for all the New York teams.
Including the Mets, right?
No, not the Mets. I never, but I'm a Yankee fan. I mean, you only can root for one. I'm a Giant fan. I've been there since the 50s.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, of course, and the Rangers. But no, I'm not a Jets fan, and I'm not a Mets fan. But the other four, I really root for.
Fair enough. A U.S. Open fan that's coming up soon.
Oh, that's always great. I remember when they named the stadium after Arthur Ashe.
Absolutely. By the way, I think a potential great venue for a top-ranked card in New York City.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
But, it's New York, and the weather always plays a part.
Yeah. Well, they have covered it recently.
Oh, they have.
Yeah, it's got a dome now, retractable.
Well, then definitely it's a good. But again, we have a great working relationship with Madison Square Garden, and so I am happy to do fights that are prominent enough that we can do them in the big garden.
Well, this is particularly where I was leading to with my question before I got sidetracked, which I often do. Teofimo Lopez, is there any truth that he was offered an opportunity to headline at the Garden? And if so, why hasn't that materialized?
Well, the people in my company who were negotiating with Teofimo said that he and his father said they didn't want to fight in New York because of the taxes. And he wanted to fight instead in California. But I guess he didn't realize that the taxes in California are even higher than they are in New York.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I think we put together a good card for New York. And it's the city I was born in. My daughter still lives in New York, and I always love to go back, whether to do a fight or just to visit the city.
Well, there you go. And lastly, Bob, I was out in LA for the Riyadh season card. Probably by far the most exciting fight took place between Jared Anderson and Martin Bakole. What were your thoughts on the event? What were your thoughts on that particular fight? And what are your thoughts on the future of Jared Anderson in the heavyweight division?
Well, that fight was unfortunate. And that's what happens when a fighter who you're promoting and your matchmakers are moving correctly is contacted by somebody else, offered a tremendous amount of money, and insists to us that he wants to take the money. We would never have booked him with Bakole at this point because he wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
You can't fight Bakole by outslugging him. I mean, he's a very powerful guy. He takes a good punch, and he has a dynamite punch.
Yeah.
The only way you can beat Bakole is to outbox him, and you have to move. You have to constantly move on him.
Yeah.
And Jared hadn't learned that at this point.
Yeah.
So he made the money. I told him that we got to start again, and I'm optimistic that the next chapter will be better.
Well, I couldn't think of a better promotional company to rebuild him, because you did a great job developing him up to that point, as you do with all of your fighters. Last one, I said last one was the last one. This is the last one. What is happening with Vasyl Lomachenko, who I also saw out there in LA? Is he going to be taking on one of the other champions at 135, or what are your plans for him?
I had lunch in LA with Vasily and his father before they headed back to Ukraine, and he told me, Bob, I fought a lot. I'm an older fighter.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Ukraine to spend time with my family, and of course there's a war going on in Ukraine. And sometime next year, we'll be talking to do a major fight. So he's not retired. He's going to come back next year. But I can see, he wanted to go back to be with his family. And, things are not normal in Ukraine, because even though he lives in a town about 10 or 20 miles from Odessa,
Yeah.
there haven't been any direct bombing on the town. But he says sometime when he goes to bed at night, he hears the bombs in the distance. So it's not a normal way to live, and he wants to make it as normal as possible for his kids.
There you go. Mr. Arum, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy, and I appreciate all you do for our sport. And enjoy Quebec City, and I'll see you at the fights.
Thank you very much.